Howdy, Hot Shots Dividend Daddy here, your favorite not a financial advisor with not financial advice. I'm here to ask you, which of you is actually losing money on ULTY at this point? I have so many people that I read comments from on my channel and others saying that these huge distributions that we're getting are all at the expense of NAV erosion. Now, I got a pretty good payday today, in my opinion. I got $202 in my main account and around $70 in a couple other accounts I have. I had bought a fairly large chunk of my shares at $6.45, about the peak of what we've been recently. Now, I was DCAing on the way up and DCAing on the way down, but including my distributions, I'm actually in the green today. I figured before even the distribution today, my cost basis was around $5.97. So including a 10-cent distribution today, it should be, I did buy some shares today at $6.02. So average down, my cost basis with a 10-cent distribution should be around $5.88. I'd have to do the math on that because it's a little bit more complicated to figure out since I've been dripping my dividends. My loss on my brokerage account actually shows about $200. But when you factor in that some of those shares were purchased with distributions, I am actually in the green. So even though it doesn't look like it on my brokerage account, it maths out. And geology, I'm not real rock solid on my geology, but I have figured out that my cost basis is less than $5.97. So all these people that are telling me that I'm doing nothing but losing money, trading dollars, getting distributions at the cost of principal, it doesn't really seem to be that way. And that's why I have been saying fairly consistently that it doesn't really matter at what price you buy ULTY at. Clearly, I want the lowest price I can get because that turbocharges my yield. It gives me a good feeling to know that I'm in the green right away. So I'm setting my limit orders at the bottom of the ranges that I think it could go to so that I can buy it. And then when it rebuilds a little bit, I'm already in the green. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. You know what I'm saying? Like just seeing that those shares are in the green. I'm like, oh, I paid $6.02 and now it's up to $6.04. Like that makes me feel all gooey inside. All right. But let's say I pay $6.06 and then it goes down to $6.01. I'm only one distribution away from being a nickel in the green. So it lowers your cost basis very rapidly when you're getting these huge distributions. I paid $6.45. Like, do you think that I'm happy that I was buying it at the peak price? No, I'm not. Nobody wants to pay more for something. I didn't know if it was going to keep going up. It had come up from the mid fours and it was getting very popular and there were getting to be huge deposits and an increase rapidly in assets under management. I'm not a fortune teller. I didn't know if it was going to keep going up. I wanted to get in and start getting those distributions. So could I have bought more shares when it was cheaper? Yeah, and I did that too. I'm in the accumulation phase. Like I am accumulating shares. I am not taking the income. So in my opinion, the people that are saying that they are losing money in ULTY or they're saying that they're trading dollars are either people that bought it in the 20s when it first came out, before it was kind of revamped, before they went to weekly pay, before they started using protective puts, before they really got their ducks in a row, okay? Before they got all their shit in one sock, all right? They started buying these shares in the 20s and it eroded from there. No kidding. But I've even seen videos from people that bought it then, and I would have to sit down and really do some math. I'd have to figure out all of the dividends and how they were reinvested and everything. Even those people said they were in the green, with it coming down all the way from the 20s. So who is it recently that is losing money on ULTY? Now, I'm not saying that it can't happen. It's an investment. There are risks. You could lose money. I mean, if it goes down $2 and the distribution rates go down, or the distribution rates just stops because they're trying to rebuild the fund, or whatever happens. There is a lot of risk involved in this type of trading and investing. I'm not trying to say that you're guaranteed a winner. But at a 10 cent per week distribution, it eats away at your cost basis very rapidly. Assuming that that continues and their protective puts do their job, it seems kind of hard to pay too much for it in this range. That's my opinion. And so I keep buying shares. I mean, I'm buying at least a couple hundred shares a week. I mean, I'm not putting it all in at once, I'm building trust. I'm learning about the product. I'm watching what it does. I'm doing math and calculations. Okay? Not meth. I said math. Okay? Math. M-A-T-H. Okay? And that's what I'm slowly moving into it. And I'll slowly move more and more into it. My distributions got me 33 and a half shares today, I think. I'd have to look. Maybe it was 34 and a half. That's $3.30 a week potentially in income that I got extra from a distribution. And that's happening every week. I also bought another 100 shares. So I just keep adding. That's an extra $13 a week that I could potentially make for the rest of my life. Now, is it going to last that long? Like I said, I gave up reading minds. There's no money in it. All right. So I can't read everybody's minds. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know what the overall economy is going to do. But as long as it does what it's doing right now, I'm going to hold on to it and get that 10-cent divvy. I'm going to drip them divvies so I can pay for my Pall Malls and cheap vodka. All right. Gag is just ecstatic over here because she's just going to be swimming in cheap vodka. All right. So I don't know who these people are that are losing money on it. Maybe they don't have any. Maybe they don't have any of this investment and they're jealous, but they're scared to get into. Maybe they think they're super smart. There's like a lot of stocks that have become yield traps in the past, and it was because their business was failing. Do these people understand how options premiums work? Look, I understand that when one of these funds goes down, it's a very long, hard crawl to get back up to where it was because the returns are capped on it. All right? They are selling covered calls, so the returns are capped. But they are using protective strategies, so hopefully it doesn't fall. I mean, if everything dropped by 50%, it seems to me like maybe ULTY would be doing better than the SPY or better than the Qs because it actually has some protection in place. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but if that's the case, and then you get this giant distribution too, man, that's why I'm liking ULTY and I keep on stacking, okay? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to do what anybody else tells me what to do, all right? But I just think right now, I'm like, this is my best chance at growing a gigantic income with a very small amount of money, relatively speaking, okay? Because people need a couple $1 million to retire nowadays based on the rates that they're getting and also have enough to reinvest so that they can keep up with inflation. If you had a couple $1 million in ULTY, you're talking about, over $1 million worth of income. So that's a significant difference to the traditional investments that we're used to. And I am 100% sure that rich people have always had access to hedge funds like this. Now it's in the hands of the little people. We can buy it. For as little as $6 a share, we can get into what has traditionally been considered hedge fund activities. So I am excited. Now, can I lose all my money? Yeah, sure. If I lose all that money, is it going to change my lifestyle? No, it's not. If I make $1 million a year, is that going to change my lifestyle? Yeah, that's going to change my lifestyle. So I am stacking shares. I am dripping my distributions, and I count those to reduce my cost basis. So if somebody's taking all the income off of it and spending it or investing it in something else and then going, oh, my shares are down, well, you need to add back in those distributions to decide whether or not you've actually lost any money. Maybe you have, okay? Like I said, I don't have all the angles on my geometry, so maybe you have lost money, all right? But could you tell me how? And if you're telling me that you bought this stuff a week ago and you're down maybe a little bit, but how about you wait another week for another distribution and then tell me again if you're still down, because I bought at the recent peak and I'm in the green, baby. All right. So I'll talk to you degens later.